back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do whatever it is that you can to support us right here at the Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Game Source, the great guys at Lakerholics.com. Go ahead and follow the #1 Lakers blogger that's out there. Of course, that is Laker Tom, and also his good friend, Mr. Yami Swoot, a.k.a. Jamie Sweet, with his 5 Things articles. You can find them today at Lakerholics.com. Plus, our good friend Joe Soro, a.k.a. Ox1947, who I'm still hoping he can go ahead and attend class. He is late. So hopefully he is coming into class with his book bag and getting all the books together and getting in there. Absolutely, hopefully getting into class here because class is about ready to start. Good evening, Terrence. Terrence is in session. Terrence is his class. He has his hand raised for attendance. He is here on time. So you know what? Teacher is liking that. But if you can go ahead and support Joe Soro, a.k.a. Ox1947 at LakersBall.com. And, of course, everything that he does for Southern California with great lawns at simblades.com, simblades with a Y.com. And, of course, our good friends at Hoopheads Podcast Network. It is this, it's just sincerely appreciated. But I also want to go ahead and mention tomorrow night, if you get a chance and you're into live watch parties with the gang from LFB, please go ahead and check us out today at playback.tv by signing up for a free account, and then join us. Please go ahead and join us for the live watch party tomorrow night starting at 7:30 Pacific against the vaunted Sacramento Kings, although they took Cleveland Cavaliers and they destroyed us in the preseason, as Joe keeps on reminding me, by 77 points combined. So we'll see if the Lakers will gain some measure of revenge without LeBron in the lineup. But that will be tomorrow night at 7:30, so please join us. You can open up a free account today at playback.tv and join and watch us free right now, or tomorrow night at playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break, all one word. And if you do, it's greatly appreciated. Wanted to give an update on LeBron James before class is in session, so I'm just getting all my notes as the instructor going forward, but I wanted to go ahead and mention that LeBron James, the MRI came back and the digital imaging and came back that it is not a tear. It is something that is going to be a left abductor strain. So it's an abductor strain. He is listed officially as day-to-day with both that and, of course, his already, hobbling foot injury that he's had. So he has a sore foot and an abductor strain. So he's going to be listed day-to-day. My guess, and according to all the research that's been done online, it looks like he probably will not play this tomorrow, of course, game against Sacramento, and also Sunday's game as well. I would assume they want to go ahead and give him a full 5-6 days of rest. By the time he comes back, I think he'll have almost 8 days of rest. So hopefully he can go ahead and get plenty of rest and then maybe come back and we'll be able to go ahead and march on and try and get back on the straight and narrow, because I do want to see Joe lose his bet and have the one chip challenge, although he is looking, a little bit better in that sense since the LeBron injury. But we'll wait and see. But once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. Class is going to be now in session because it is Lakers History 101. And I've got a special guest instructor for today's session. It is, of course, the madman from Toronto, the Magic Man indeed. It is Magic Man Sean Grice. Sean, great to have you here. Great to have Daniel here as well. Terrence is here as well. And the topic for today, as I write on the virtual chalkboard, is Paul Westhead, a very much a favorite topic of mine as far as someone who I have appreciated throughout his career. He actually was a great part of my basketball love in the late 80s and early 90s of what he did to innovate the offense with the Loyola Marymount Lions. Small fact that I'm not sure anybody, or too many people know about is that he actually, for a time after his firing from the Lakers, he actually had a stint at where I got my AA degree at the Marymount College in Palos Verdes, one of the most beautiful and also almost very tiny colleges that are out there. Actually, it's now a university now. They would actually slap me upside my head because they became a university several years after I left, but wanted to go ahead and give him some credit on that. But yes, I will say that, I mean, Paul Westhead has just been a great influence as far as enjoyment in basketball in my life after what he did with the Loyola Marymount Lions. But it all started for him with St. Joseph's, that led into the job that he got as an assistant coach of the Lakers, and through obviously tragic circumstances, got the head coaching gig, led the Lakers to a 1980s championship, and had a fallout about 41 years ago this month. So Sean wanted to go ahead and talk today about this as far as a reminder about Paul Westhead, about the circumstances behind it, about the deteriorating relationship between him and Magic Johnson and the events that led to it, but also as well what Magic Johnson did and the Lakers did after that and the success to that. So as much as I love Paul Westhead, I'm going to have to say that obviously the changes that were made in bringing in Pat Riley off the assistant coaching bench, from the announcer's booth to assisting coaching, after Paul Westhead got fired, he became the head coach, and we all know what happened from there.
Yes, Gerald. Showtime was on the tracks, and there was no slowing it down after that year. To me, this is the second greatest Lakers championship in Los Angeles. I think obviously number one.
Which championship are you referring to?
Our 82 championship, 1981-82. We went 12-2. Rolled through the first two series, swept both the Phoenix Suns and San Antonio Spurs. Magic Johnson won the Finals MVP for the second time in 3 years.
Well deserved.
Absolutely. In 14 games, Magic had 7 triple doubles, which is really unheard of for a player who's in his third season as a point guard in the NBA. So to me, obviously, number one is 2000, 2001, Shaq and Kobe, 15-1. No championship in Los Angeles has eclipsed that one yet. But moving forward on that season particularly, your sense of timing is incredible, Gerald, because it was this date in 1981 where we got spanked by the San Antonio Spurs, and we were 2-4 at that time. And Magic has the conch, and everybody asks him a certain question. And instead of answering the question, Magic decides that he's going to let everybody know that he wants a trade from the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, to give a little...
And then let me ask you this. Okay, obviously there was a deteriorating relationship, and obviously the loss in Houston in the playoffs the year before didn't help any matters. Talk to me about the deteriorating relationship between those two, because when you look at it, I mean, Jack McKinney got the injury, Paul Westhead took over. We all know Paul Westhead from the innovative, at the time it was called junk offenses.
Yes.
He was doing it, but now it's innovative, and now everybody's doing it, running and gunning and three-pointers all over the place. Imagine how that's changed and innovated the offense. But he was the one that led the charge in that. But as a Lakers head coach, his style was a little bit different than what it came to be. So talk to me about those early days after the 1980 championship and the fallout between, or what deteriorated between Magic Johnson and Paul Westhead. Because it's interesting, because if you look at Legacy, the series, you look at the Magic Johnson series, you look at the Winning Time series, you look at those series as a whole this year that have been debuted this year, they give you kind of a glimpse of what went on. But I think it's just the fact that, you know, by the time Paul Westhead wanted to go ahead and innovate the offense in the way that he ultimately did, it wasn't with the Lakers, and unfortunately that cost him his job.
100%, Gerald, 100%. The big fly in the ointment for Irvin was that the offense was designed to be around him. That's what Jack McKinney's vision was, that under Don Nelson's tutelage and then Dr. Jack Ramsey, McKinney was a highly touted offensive mind. And there was the expectation that the Kareem would get most of the shot attempts, but the offense would flow through Irvin. And like you said, there was a different philosophy when Westhead took over. He really wanted the offense to go through Kareem. And that irked Irvin, because Irvin had just come off a serious knee injury. He tore cartilage in his second year, and he felt that after winning MVP in the finals, he'd earned a certain amount of, I guess you would say, accountable wisdom to understand that, the offense should flow through me because I can get everybody in the right spots. But as you said, Westhead had a different philosophy at that point. In Loyola, if you look at his offenses, that was innovative. His sense of speed and pace was a complete contrast to what he was doing in Los Angeles with the Lakers. And there had already been some cracks in the foundation already the previous year when Magic felt that the power forward position needed to be upgraded, and he implored the Lakers to try and acquire Mitch Kupchak, and so they did. But that meant trading Jim Jones, who was a really good rebounder and had a decent mid-range shot, but for some reason him and Westhead clashed as well, and he benched Jones, and that sort of caused a rift in that locker room as well. So Dr. Buss agreed to the trade, but he was really shining the microscope very heavily on Westhead too. A lot of people think that, looking back, that Magic was the one who kind of initiated the tension. That's not really the case. Dr. Buss's first choice was McKinney. He had to insert Westhead there. And then when Magic made that trade demand, Gerald, I'm sure Dr. Buss's head was spinning, because, as you also remember, he re-signed Magic to unconscionable today, but a 25-year rookie extension, which, in today's CBA obviously wouldn't happen. But his head is swirling now. He signed his star point guard to a 25-year contract. The head coach is fighting amongst his star, and now he has to make a crucial decision, and it wasn't easy at all.
No, it wasn't easy at all, indeed. But once again, it's Sean Grice right there for you, the Magic Man, the Madman from Toronto, getting out of Toronto traffic. He has wanted a chance to talk some Lakers history, so we opened up a class, Lakers History 101, for you right here. Once again, LeBron's injury is an abductor injury. Wanted to go ahead and mention that he is on a day-to-day status that is going forward. I would imagine he would be out for the Friday and Sunday games at the very least. Maybe they will keep him out longer. We will keep you updated here at the Lakers Fast Break. Plus, also, don't forget our live watch parties, which you can sign up for right now at playback.tv. Sign up for free, and you can join us at playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. If you've got a streaming outlet, you can watch along and go with us at the games that we're going to be having upcoming. We're going to be doing watch parties for pretty much all of them, from what I'm told. So Laker Tom is really excited. Sean Grice is really excited about that. Joe Soro has been cursing all over it, so I guess he's excited for it too. So we'll see what happens, but please go ahead and join us for our live watch parties, now available at playback.tv. You can sign up there and join us on Friday night at 7:30 for the Lakers and the Kings. But getting back to class after a short break to let the kids go ahead and take some quizzes, wanted to go ahead and talk to you about how that change, again, I have a soft spot in my heart for Westhead, but I understood why the change. And hello to Peanut, Daniel, and Terrence once again in the chat room. Truly appreciate you joining us and watching and listening for Lakers History 101. Glad you're part of class. Wanted to go ahead and discuss with you, again, as I have a soft spot for Paul Westhead and will always have a soft spot for it, but I understand when I look back at history, and I also remember it because I was 13 and I can't really fathom what's going on. All I know is, Paul was fired. I didn't have an appreciation for Paul's talents as a coach. I just knew him as the guy who won, helped the Lakers won the championship in '80. But I understand that Magic was ticked off at him. So, okay, all right, we'll go with you, Magic. It wasn't until later on that I learned more about, what Westhead can do out there as a coach on the floor. He became not only, like we said, in 1980, he became he's the only man to ever, or the only individual ever, to coach a NBA and WNBA championship, like he did later on with Phoenix Mercury. But he innovated, offenses later on in his career. Maybe he had served as a lesson to him as far as what happened there, because he had much more of a strict, rigid, rudimentary offense that he wanted to implement. And I think that probably taught him a lesson that, going forward in his life, if he ever got those opportunities to create innovative offenses, he did just that, because he never went back to those strict offenses. So again, that's where I came into play. But getting to where the decision was made and the firing of Paul Westhead was done, what did they do now to bring in, as far as move Riley up from the assistant coach, where he had just become an assistant coach for, just a season or so? Yeah. And then he was coming from the announcer's booth, and I know it was over dramatized as far as what you see there with winning time, and really hasn't been elaborated much as far as that end of it. But your thoughts on what Pat Riley's change and how he saw things, because the way he coached the Lakers the rest of that decade was far different than the way he coached New York or Miami later on.
Absolutely, Gerald. It was a little different as well. It was,
but the practices remained long, and that remained.
Yes. At least the practices were part of the bunker mentality. But he definitely had to adjust his personality to the situation. And again, this decision is not easy for Dr. Buss, and the press conference becomes even more awkward, because during the press conference, Dr. Buss states that Jerry West and Pat Riley will be co-head coaches, and Jerry West basically takes the mic from him and says, no, Dr. Buss. And Dr. Buss then says, well, Jerry will be in charge of the offense, and Pat will take care of the defense. And Jerry takes the mic back and he says, no, Dr. Buss, this is Pat Riley's team. He's going to coach with autonomy. And I really respect Dr. Buss for allowing, Jerry West to not be insubordinate, but kind of recognize that there would always be a perception if Jerry West was on the sidelines with Pat Riley, that there was a power behind the throne, so to speak.
And then the credit would go to Jerry West as opposed to Pat Riley.
Absolutely. And again, you and I have talked about this, but we don't think Jerry West gets near the recognition he really should.
He's brilliant with the Lakers. It's really
the shrewdness of what he did there.
And we're seeing it now as far as the contrast to what's going on with today's product. But need I digress?
Yes, obviously. So we all know that this is Pat Riley's team now. So the Lakers are just coming off a 5-game winning streak. They're 7-4. As you say, Gerald, the next 20 games, the Lakers go 17-3. It's a good opening impression that Riles makes on Lakers and Hollywood and the rest of the NBA. Unfortunately, during that time frame, Mitch Kupchak blows out his knee, and he only plays less than 30 games. He is replaced basically by a guy who they just signed in the summer from the Greek league by the name of Kurt Rambis. Kurt Rambis was drafted by the Knicks in the 3rd round, but the Knicks and Kurt Rambis could never reach a contract agreement. Mm-hmm. So, being a Greek national citizen, Kurt was able to play in the Greek league that year, and he's coming off a championship. Now, the Lakers have Mitch Kupchak inserted as the starting power forward, and their backup is one Mark Landsberger, who I gotta say, Gerald, whenever I look at Magic's assist totals, I can't help but think that at least once a game, either Landsberger or Rambis blew a layup or dropped a perfect pass and cost Irvin, at least 2 assists per game. But I digress about that. But they also have another player named Mike McGee, who they drafted in the first round, 18th overall, and they're trying to find minutes for him. So Riles is dealing with a lot of different hats here. He's trying to find a rotation that works. He's trying to insert his defensive philosophies. He's also trying to understand each player's tendencies. And he's also under the microscope from Dr. Buss, because Dr. Buss has invested a lot of money into Irvin. He wants to make Irvin happy. Riles understands this as well. And they forge a bond because Riles, like not unlike what Rick Carlisle did with Luka Doncic, he understood the talent of this young man, and I can't put any restrictions on him because he's just uber talented and he sees the game differently than most players. And Riles understood this, but Riles also understood that there needed to be discipline as well, because as we move forward through the season, the Lakers stumble a little bit, and every championship team goes through a skid at least once a year. You lose 5, you lose 7 of 8. So it's mid-March, and it's bunker practice time. And Riles decides that, you know what, gentlemen, you've been playing man-to-man defense for a while now, so we're going to try something different. And, of course, Gerald, he has the guts to bring in the trap defense into the NBA and use it frequently in the finals. He used it a lot against that Sixers squad. And, it was either a 1-3-1 or 1-2-2. He really found a way to bring in a college strategic tactic into the NBA and make it work. And that was another reason why people thought, okay, Riles knows what buttons to press here and when to press them, because the only shooter that really that Sixers team had was Andrew Toney, and Riles understood this, and he made sure that whoever was on Toney or Irving, that the responsibility was of one Jamal Wilkes, Magic, Norm Nixon to double team, and he demanded it, and the guys really responded to him, Gerald. It was something to behold, because a lot of people had their doubts. A lot of people had their doubts about Pat Riley coming in. This guy, he looks like something out of Central Casting coming into Los Angeles. But, looking back through history, Riles had a relationship with Jerry West. They won a championship together with the Lakers. Bill Sharman and Jerry West both being executives. So Riles was coached by Bill Sharman. So there was a lot of connective tissue between, Dr. Buss and the executives, and allowing Riles to insert his style of play. But as you say, Gerald, he had to adjust to not only the team, but what the necessity was, which was to make sure that the offense does flow through Irvin, because he's shown himself to be a dynamo, and we can't restrict what he can do. You know, so in his first 4 years, Irvin Johnson went to 3 NBA finals. He won 2 finals MVPs. That's probably the greatest first 4 years in all 4 major sports. I can't think of another person who ascended that quickly in a sport that demanded toughness and focus, and it took a certain kind of special talent to do that. And unfortunately, I don't think Paul Westhead really appreciated that until after he was gone, as you say, Gerald.
Yeah, because like I said, you see his offenses that he ran or in early games in 1980 or 81, and you see that the fact that he was not implementing as much of a high octane offense. We always talk about Showtime during the 80s and whatnot. Showtime in the 80s really didn't start to kick off until the Riley era came in. There was a little bit to an extent in the 1980s, especially if you get a chance to take a look at the winning game from the 76ers in Philadelphia, where Magic won the MVP and the title for the team. But it wasn't to the extent where you saw true Showtime until, for me, and also my memories as a kid, seeing it until Riley took over. But I think Westhead used the firing as a lesson to him on how he should coach a team. And if he was ever to get an opportunity at a major level, once again, he was going to take it as an opportunity to implement a style that's more accustomed to what he wanted and what he wanted to go ahead and envision. I think that the Kareem scenario, Kareem was in the latter years of his career, and I think the emphasis that still, the NBA was like, focus in on the number 5 spot, focus in on the center, focus in on the big man. It's always got to be about the big man. That was the focus, even though Kareem's skills, as great as they were, as being one of the greatest players of all time, were in decline at that point in time. I think that he truly didn't appreciate Magic Johnson's talents to be able to push it in transition as much as he should have. And I think that he learned from that. I also think that the fact that he was able to understand and appreciate the 3-point area even more and allowed him to go ahead and succeed, once he got over that firing, it allowed him a chance to go ahead and succeed later on.
Absolutely, Gerald. And I try and explain it to individuals like this. If you looked at this at the NBA point guard position, if there was the sun and the moon, it'd likely be Magic Johnson and Steph Curry. Magic's the greatest passer of all time at the point guard position.
Look who's sneaking into class!
And hello, Joe. And Steph is the greatest shooting point guard of all time. Now, when you delve into what made Irvin special, it just wasn't the fact that I think one of the reasons Paul Westhead was reluctant to allow Irvin to run the offense was that he felt that at times Irvin over dribbled or was too fond of driving the lane. But what Irvin tried to explain to Westhead was, I don't even know what I'm going to do in transition. I don't know if I'm going to pass. I don't know if I'm going to shoot. I only know when I really get into the painted area. That's when I make a decision. And, for some reason, Westhead was reluctant to do this. I mean, Magic has over 10,000 career assists with a usage rate under 25%. If you showed that to analytics experts today, they wouldn't believe it. They would think it was made up. There's no way somebody could average those kind of numbers with a usage rate that low. But that's why he was so transformational. There were times, Gerald, where the ball didn't touch the floor, either in transition or in half court. That's how special he was. And there'll never be another point guard like him. I will never see another point guard able to do the things he was able to do. And ultimately, Riles understood this completely because he was the one in practices as well. The same with Westhead. And my guess is Paul was thinking about running the offense through Kareem as a conventional, milquetoast offense. And Pat Riley was thinking Buck needs to run this. Buck needs to run this offense.
Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. It is classes in session because Lakers History 101 is here. Sean Grice, the Magic Man, the Madman from Toronto, and also here, coming in late, trying to gently put his book bag with books down, not being noticed by the professor. Unfortunately, he was noticed by the professor. It is a good man indeed. He is still late, but he's here anyways. It is a good man indeed. You got to go ahead and check out what he's doing today at Simblades with a Y.com, and of course, LakersBall.com, and of course, our live watch parties at playback.tv. It is Joe Soro. Joe, great to have you here. Late nonetheless, young man. We'll deal with that after class. But I will say right now, we're talking about the Paul Westhead era coming to an end and the actual dominance of the Lakers beginning with the induction of Pat Riley.
It's interesting how after they won the 1980 NBA championship, Magic was quoted in Philly after the game saying if Westhead isn't the coach, he's going wherever he's going. And then a year and a half, 2 years later, I'm leaving if this guy's not out of here. The documentary they had on Hulu was another version of that story. I feel like I've heard so many different versions of that story.
Agreed.
I started realizing, well, which one was it? And I think that quote was the definition. Those two quotes was the definition of what really happened. What happened was both things happened. He wanted him, and then he didn't want him. So we get confused on what exactly happened. And the fact that Dr. Buss had told people he was going to fire Westhead anyways, but no one believed him. These kind of things can be interpreted in different ways because how can you tell who's telling the truth? You can't.
Yeah, and I've never agreed, and I'll fight vehemently that the narrative that somehow Magic was responsible for Westhead's dismissal. Dr. Buss was thinking of letting him go months before Irvin made that request, and he's also balancing the fact that he's just signed Irvin Johnson to a 25-year extension. So am I going to invest my future in this transformational player who may not come around again, or a coach who I'm lukewarm about to begin with because he wasn't my guy, and there are already rifts in that locker room. So it's never an easy decision there, but he made the right one.
Joe, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you can't. You have to. And they were buddies already, so there's no. I'm sure Magic went up there and said, "Doc, I can't." It's like putting Anthony Davis at the 5.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a player that's still gonna make the All-Star team and still be productive, but you're not getting the full talent on that. Just like you're not getting the full ability of LeBron with shooters around them. When LeBron has shooters on his team, especially this late in his career, he wins assist titles.
Yes, Yes, 100%. And it's ironic too, because you would think that of all people who was under McKinney, that Westhead would, watching that 6-game series in 1980 and seeing Magic play all 5 positions and basically dominate all. Here are the 2 stats that stand out most from that season, okay, to me. So in the first round against Phoenix, when they swept them, in Game 4, the Lakers took 87 shots. Irvin took 7 shots. He played 44 minutes and took 7 shots. He finished 15, 11, and 12, and the Lakers won. In the 6th game of the finals, the Lakers took 81 shots. Irvin took 3, 1, 2, 3 shot attempts. He finished with 13 points, 13 assists, 13 rebounds. That game featured players like Bobby Jones, Caldwell Jones, Daryl Dawkins, and Magic got more rebounds on the defensive end than all of them combined. I believe Caldwell Jones had 9, Magic had 10 in that game. So Irvin not only controlled the gas and brake on that offense, he did whatever it took to get more possessions. That was the whole idea, and that was another riff they had, is that Magic wanted more possessions and Westhead wanted to slow the game down. And to Magic, that's like telling, Dale Earnhardt that he can't pass in the grass. You can't tell Magic what he can and can't do. He's just led you to the NBA Finals when Kareem was out and won. He tears his knee up, comes back when they want him to sit out for the year too. They didn't want him to really come back. They wanted him to rest up. He's like, no, I'm perfectly healthy. I'm coming back. They lose to Houston, and that pisses him off. And then we roll into the next season, and it's the same thing. The pace is slow. Nobody's really getting along on the court. It's not the same as it was. Nobody's loose. Everybody's really tight. And Irvin just had enough. He can read a room. Like, one thing that always struck me about him was just how, like, Showtime was the Magic, but the defense and the rebounding and the guts, that was Irvin. We all know his story. He came from a hard life, but he learned a lot of valuable lessons. His dad had 2 jobs. He had to work 2 jobs. So Irvin knows work ethic. And that was another reason that it played into Dr. Buss's decision, because this wasn't a case of, a young man who's immature, who maybe doesn't understand the business of that side of wanting somebody to be dismissed, like, say, I don't know, Kevin Durant, who just says fire the coach. And Irvin is mature enough to, like Joe said, to walk up to Dr. Buss and say, look, Dr. Buss, this isn't working, man. You got to help me out, Doc. Like he is not going to be the reason we win a championship.
So, Joe, I want to go ahead and interrupt here and thank you again for joining us, students, for Lakers History 101, where we talk about the end of the Paul Westhead era. And obviously what it summons in is Pat Riley coming in, and everybody knows what happens from there. The domination by the Lakers and the dynasty that they built in the 1980s is born. Your thoughts on Pat Riley and where it went from there? I spoke out against what I said with Sean in regards to Pat Riley. When it comes to Pat Riley, He changed his style to a much more slow, bruising style later on with both New York and Miami. We saw what he did there. But when it comes to the Lakers, it was all showtime. Your thoughts on how Pat Riley changed and evolved from when he was with the Lakers and winning those championships to what he eventually became later on as a coach?
Pat Riley was he was the great adapter, and any great anything is someone who can adapt. Someone like a Bill Belichick can adapt his defense to a particular offense or his offense to a particular defense. Nick Saban, he can win a national championship with a top-tier quarterback. He can win a championship without a top-tier quarterback. Pat Riley coached a finesse team for 8-9 seasons. Was it 8? Yeah, 8.5 seasons. And then turned the Knicks into the 90s version of the Detroit Pistons, minus one more superstar. They just Patrick Ewing just needed one more guy on that team, and he probably would have won a couple championships. But he took him as far as he could before running into Michael Jordan. Then he went to Miami, and his tactics wore those guys out versus the Knicks for those years he was in New York. I remember Tim Hardaway talking about when they got to I believe it was the 1997 Eastern Conference Finals against the Bulls. He said we were spent, we were done. So imagine not only the fact that you have Magic Johnson and the Lakers in the 80s, you've got this talent, and on top of that, you had this rigorous, out of your mind conditioning, crazy coach. You encompass all those things into one team, and you end up creating the team of the 80s essentially. And if it wasn't for a couple of injuries, you probably would have won 6 or 7 championships that decade. So Pat Riley goes through that process in LA, goes to the New York Knicks, has a run, goes to Miami, tries to do the same thing in Miami. He did have a little bit more talent in terms of Tim Hardaway on offense, and then Lonzo was a little bit more versatile versus Patrick Ewing. But even he knew, you know what? I don't know if my ways are going to start working here. And he starts phasing himself out, and then eventually has to come back because Stan Van Gundy may, hurt Shaq's feelings, wins a championship, and then coaches a little bit longer after that, and then finally says, "Look, I gotta go sit up in the booth, and I can be the godfather up there, but I can't really do it with these pansies that are coming up in the future."
Well, I tell you what, it's very interesting to hear that, especially with the fact that, again, we saw what Pat Riley evolved to as a coach. Sean, you want to go?
Was that enough history, guys? I didn't know if you guys. I mean, I'd like to think I already know I know the NBA, but I never feel like I know enough. It's just kind of how my brain works. But I hope the audience.
Well, this is something you guys want to been do for a long time.
Just to Joe's point, it's I forget the journalist who said it, but he basically said that Pat Riley's coaching style, the skeleton of his coaching style was the Knicks, but the skin and the tissue and all that was the Lakers. It was the outside. The inside of Pat Riley was what you saw with the Knicks. His grind, dirt under your fingernails. You either have to have blood on your shirt or blood on your skin to justify playing for me. And it's also a contrast in age as well. That Lakers team in 1981, outside of Kareem and Bob McAdoo, is very young. Irvin's 22. Rambis is 23. Michael Cooper's 23. They're young, and They haven't been in the league very long, but Magic is the greatest leader in sports history. Nobody will ever convince me otherwise. He led his team to winning a championship without their best player at the time. He also led their team to a finals when that player had retired. In between, playing from his prime was 79 to 91. In 12 seasons, he went to 9 finals. 9 finals. You know, LeBron went to 8 straight, which in this era is very impressive.
Yeah.
I'm more impressed with somebody who gets to a lot of finals than, you know, maybe one or two. To me, getting to a finals is much more difficult. Only one team can win, but 2 of them get there, and it's very difficult. And for him to do that in again, that short amount of time with 3 different head coaches going to 9 NBA finals just shows what kind of a leader he really was and why he had his finger on the pulse of the situation, and he was proven out to be right.
So once again, it is Lakers History 101. It's the Lakers Fast Break. Gerald Glassford here. Professor Gerald Glassford, along with instructor Sean Grice and instructor Joe Soro as well. Wanted to go ahead before we head on out. The last thing I'm going to throw at you, because we're going to go ahead. It's an hour class, so we'll go ahead and end it justly. The class, the bell will ring about an hour in. So I wanted to go ahead before we finish on out is with instructor Joe. Joe, I haven't, as far as something that you can relate to the classes, you know how well the Lakers with Pat Riley dominated the rest of that decade. But do you believe, as an instructor, that you can philosophize or theorize to the class out there that the Lakers left in that decade some championships on the table?
Oh, absolutely. One wasn't anyone's fault other than the individuals that made some bad decisions at crunch time. The number one worst play in Laker history is James Worthy's turnover in Game 2 in the 84 finals. If James Worthy inbounds that ball, the Lakers go up 2-0 in Boston in both games. Larry Bird never beats Magic. Magic never loses a series to the Celtics. The Lakers have 6 championships in that decade, and the discussion of greatest of all time would still be debated to this day, whether it's Magic or Michael Jordan. And I've said this about the difference between great and accomplishment. The reason why Michael Jordan is so revered is he never lost in the big stage. Some will say, well, Joe, he lost in the second round in 1995. He lost the first 7 years. No, shut up. Just shut up. First of all, which one of those great players in the last 40 years, heck, 50 years, 50, let's say 3 years since Bill Russell's last year in the league, which one of the great players that have played since 1970 have 6 championships? None. So I'm sorry, wait, there's one guy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So there's one guy, Kareem, and I'm not going to get into the argument of who the greatest of all time is. You can't really give it to a center. It's got to, centers need the ball given to them. So Kareem is the only one since 1970 that has 6 championships. Kareem went 6 out of 10. Magic went 5 out of 4. Larry went 3 out of 5. Isaiah went 2 out of 3. Kobe went 5 out of 7. Shaq went 4 out of 6. Duncan went 5 out of 1. He got close. But Duncan, like to your point, Gerald, was not overrated. You can argue. Not overrated. But his Kobe, there's a reason why Kobe Bryant pretty much owned them in the 2000s. You can't even compare the talent at that point. So Michael Jordan is 6-0 in the finals. He had he won every award other than the six-man award. He won 10 scoring titles. He had the stats, he had the charisma, he had the drama, he had everything, and he had no equal in the 90s. He's probably the only guy that didn't have an equal in a decade, because unless you say, Mikan was the guy in the 50s, which you can say that. There was really no one else really in the late 40s and 50s. Then you kind of got the tail end of that with Bill Russell, but I always equate the 60s with Bill Russell. So you had Will Chamberlain. So in the 50s, you had Mikan. In the 60s, you had Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain. In the 70s, you could say it was Kareem's decade. 80s was Larry Bird and Magic. Jordan was the 90s. And then I always say all three, Tim Duncan, Shaq, and Kobe were the guys in the 2000s. And then 2010, I had mentioned LeBron being that guy, but you can argue that Steph is in that group as well, or with LeBron in that decade as well. But Michael dominated, and he dominated in a time when TV, advertising, shoes, all that came together. He was the perfect combination of everything you've ever wanted in an athlete. Everything. He worked hard. He was a beast. He inspired. Even though he was a jerk, he inspired. He made. The only reason why we're talking about Bill Wennington and Joe
medical
Klein
bills
and
medical bills. That's
and
what
Steve
they were
Kerr.
called,
Yeah, it's because that guy drew he drew him out. He drew him out to be effective.
Luke Longley, shout out.
Luke Longley, and all those guys really dropped off. I mean, I guess the only guy that probably had a shot at probably winning championships without Michael Jordan was Scottie Pippen. And if it wasn't for Shaq and Kobe, he probably would have won a couple. So yeah, it's the stuff that got left in the 80s. When I look back on it, I don't know which one was worse. For the longest time, I thought the 89 one was worse, because what a way to end the decade. We would have three-peated. Kareem would have went on a winner. We were 11-0 going into that finals, and then we both Magic and Byron Scott blow out their hamstrings. And I've gotten into discussions with people about Detroit that year. They said even if Magic was healthy and Byron was healthy, they were still going to win that series.
Well, you know something, I've heard people talk crap about how if Ralph Sampson doesn't hit that shot, even if the Lakers make the finals, the Celtics are on a train through them. I don't think that's true at all. I think that was another season that Joe, you said 84 was the worst. Yeah, that's Sampson.
I'll tell you why. Because that didn't have to happen.
No,
so
I agree. I agree.
Let's give Celtics the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to argue this. That was the best Celtics team.
Oh, I agree.
Arguably ever.
They were potent.
They lost one game at home that year. One.
Yep.
Okay. One game. Larry Bird won his third MVP. Bill Wong won six man of the year. Yes, guys, you came to hear history. You're getting it. I even know Celtic history. So you got the perfect team. And I told you guys this about the unfortunate career, a little bit of the unfortunate career of LeBron James. LeBron James never had, in all the years he's been playing, the perfect team. So I've had people tell me, well, what about 2012? Yeah, it was a strike season. He only played 66 games. And, yeah, he never has had – 2016 was probably the closest, but that was one of those, like, he still had to struggle to get it. 86 – Celtics. Lakers, 87 in terms of the Magic era. If you wanted to go the Detroit route, the Isaiah Thomas, obviously 1989. Bulls, 96. Spurs, 2003.
I mean, to me, I mentioned it at the top. To me, that 82 championship is number 2 all time for me as a Lakers fan. They go 12-2 in 14 games. Magic has 7 triple doubles, which is unheard of at that time. He's basically 2 games away from averaging a triple double in both series against the Suns and Spurs. He missed it by 1 assist in each series. he goes to play Philly again, and even though Philly got him in the next year, he got him for a second time, and that one was really, to me, it was the icing on the cake for him, because he proved to everybody that I am the best point guard in the land. Nobody is on my level there. And Kareem is 35 years old after that championship. And even he understands now that, this is Irvin's team. And going back to Riles, again, during that season, he's trying to juggle what rotations work. And eventually he plays Kurt Rambis because Mitch Kupchak blows out his knee, and Mark Landsberger, God bless him, he's just not that kind of athlete that you can really put on the floor with the Magic Johnson playing a full court transition, highly conditioned style of offense. Rambis fits in like a glove after a bit of struggling. Riles plays him up to 25 minutes a game. He's his primary front court reserve in the playoffs, basically. He goes with the 7-man rotation. Michael Cooper and Kurt come off the bench, and he's Go ahead, Gerald.
No, go ahead. Because the class is almost ending. Just want to let you know.
Yeah. So he's basically relying on McAdoo and Cooper to come off the bench and be productive. And believe it or not, Michael Cooper was an underrated passer, Gerald. He understood the nature of Showtime, and we all think of Coop as kind of the godfather of the 3-and-D. But he was an underrated passer, and you had to understand that if you're playing with Magic Johnson and Showtime, it's about getting the best shot possible for the team, not for you.
All right. Well, class, I hope you've enjoyed our first lesson at Lakers History 101. As the professor behind the curriculum here, as far as the studies here at Laker U, want to go ahead and thank you so much for watching and listening. We will do this again. This is something that Sean and Joe, and I know others as well as part of the LFB, have talked about for quite some time, about talking about past Lakers history. I know we have these conversations constantly on our regular shows. In fact, tomorrow night, we're going to be doing a post game, of course, right here at the Lakers Fast Break on YouTube. So please subscribe today if you haven't already. But from time to time, we're going to throw some history lessons. Class will be in session. And you know what? As part of the curriculum for next week's lesson, or our next lesson, I should say, our next lesson will be something that is near and dear to Joe's heart, that he's going to go ahead and give a big time presentation on, and that is the Chris Paul trade. So we will be going into depth on the what if and the theories and the things that could have been laid out with the Chris Paul trade, something that Joe, as you know, if you've heard the show, Instructor Joe has really talked about at length. So for Professor Joe Soro, Professor Sean Grice, we hope you've enjoyed this class and session as far as that's concerned. Truly hope that you've enjoyed what the instructors have said today. So Sovereign is back to work. Terrence says it's very informative. Appreciate you watching and listening. We'll be back tomorrow night, obviously right here at Lakers Fast Break on YouTube for the post game against the Kings around 10 p.m. Pacific. But please, if you get a chance, join us for our wild and crazy watch parties that we're going to have, our wild and crazy live watch parties that you can go ahead and catch today at playback.tv. Sign up for a free account today at playback.tv, and then join us at playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. All the fun will start at 7:30 tomorrow night. Hopefully you'll be a part of what we're doing. We truly appreciate it if you can. Once again, it is Professor Gerald Glassford along with instructors Sean Grice and instructor Joe Soro. Thank you so much for watching, listening. This Lakers history lesson at Lakers History 101. We will be doing, again, more sessions. I know the bell's ringing, so class is going to be dismissed. So we truly appreciate you being part of it for Lakers History 101, and I hope you'll come back to class sometime soon right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.